Good morning, students. As in the previous class, I started with the new chapter, that is digestion and absorption. So, in the previous class, I started with the structure of the alimentary canal and I have completed till the alimentary canal. Then I said that is the wall of the alimentary canal, which is running from esophagus till the rectum. That wall of the alimentary canal is always made up of four layers, that is serosa, muscularis, submucosa and the mucosa. Okay, so here the serosa, it is said to be as outermost layer. After the outermost layer, that is serosa, the next layer is muscularis. After the muscularis, it is submucosa, and after the submucosa, it is the innermost layer, that is called the mucosa. So here the outermost layer, that is the serosa, it is made up of the serosa, it is made up of epithelium tissue. So mainly whenever the epithelium tissue, it is present inside the visceral organs, that epithelium tissue we call it as a mesothelium. So the serosa outermost layer, it is made up of the epithelium, which we call it as the mesothelium, and even it is consisting of the connective tissues also. So the next is muscularis. So here the muscularis, why the name is muscularis, why it is said to be as the muscles, that term is coming in the muscularis, because this layer, it is made up of the smooth muscles. As you all studied in the structural organization in the locomotion and movement lesson, you all know that the smooth muscles means, are they voluntary or involuntary? So they are involuntary, they are not, they are under the control of our central nervous system. So here these smooth muscles, the muscularis, which is consisting, which is made up of the smooth muscles, so that smooth muscles are being arranged in the different manner. Okay, so you can see in the diagram where it is going to represent the transverse section of the gut, that is the alimentary canal. So there you can see the inner circular and outer longitudinal, inner circular and outer longitudinal. It means these muscles are being outer muscles, smooth muscles are arranged in the longitudinal manner, whereas in case of the one more layer, there the muscles are being arranged in the circular manner. Okay, so the arrangement of the smooth muscles made the muscularis to divide as outer longitudinal and inner circular. Okay, then the next, in case after the muscularis, the next layer is submucosa. So that submucosa layer, it is formed by the connective tissues. So that connective tissues, well, you all have studied in detail the connective tissue also. So that connective tissue will be consisting of the matrix, fibroblast, then they are being supplied with the blood vessels, lymph vessels, nerves, all these. As the submucosa is made up of the connective tissue, so all these are present inside the submucosa layer also. But here remember, there is one exception. What is that exception? I said that the alimentary canal, the wall of the alimentary canal from esophagus till the rectum, it is made up of the four layers. But when these layers, when it comes with respect to the duodenum, the small intestine, so there these layers of the elementary canal are going to show some modifications. What are those modifications? I'll tell. Please remember, the submucosa layer of the elementary canal is going to show the modification inside the duodenum. What is that modification? The submucosa layer of the small intestine inside the duodenum, it is going to have, or it is going to show some of the glands, and that glands are called as the Brunner's glands. The glands which are present in the submucosal layer of the duodenum, those glands are called as the Brunner's glands. Okay, then I said these layers with respect to some part of the elementary canal, they are going to show the modifications. So the innermost layer, that is the innermost layer of the elementary canal, it is going to show the modification inside the stomach. The innermost layer of the elementary canal, that is called as the mucosa. Okay, so this mucosa layer inside the stomach, it is going to show some of the modification. What is that modification? That mucosa layer inside the stomach, it is going to form, it is going to show some of irregular foldings, and those irregular foldings are called as the rugae, and these rugae are the foldings which are present only inside the stomach. Okay, students, you can observe in this diagram, the outermost layer is serosa, next is muscularis, submucosa, and the mucosa. After the mucosa, you can see the white color, a cavity like. So that cavity is called as the lumen. So this lumen will be present from your esophagus till the rectum. When it comes to inside your stomach, the mucosal layer is going to form irregular foldings, and those irregular foldings are called as the rugae. Okay, then this is inside the stomach. The same mucosal layer when it comes to the small intestine, so only inside the small intestine, this mucosal layer, it is going to show some of the finger like foldings, and those finger like foldings are called as the villi. You can see in this diagram also. So that is mucosa only inside the small intestine, it will be showing irregular, sorry, not irregular, it will be showing the finger like foldings, projections, that is called as the villi. When the mucosa is in the mucosa layer of the stomach will be showing irregular foldings, and that is called as the rugae. The submucosal layer of the small intestine, in the small intestine, mainly the duodenum, it will be having the Brunner's gland. These are the modification with respect to the particular part of the elementary canal. Okay, so I was telling with respect to the villi, where these villi are present only inside the small intestine, as they are arising, or they are being formed from the innermost layer, that is called as the mucosa. So this mucosa, which is forming the finger like foldings, projections, are called as the villi. So on the villi there will be a lining of the numerous number of microscopic projections, and those microscopic projections are called as the microvilli. So what is the use of these microvilli? So because of the presence of the microvilli on the villi, it is going to appear the upper surface, it is going to appear like the brush border. Okay, as you all know that this small intestine, mainly it is going to help in the absorption. So due to the presence of the finger like foldings inside the mucosa layer, so that is going to help in the, it is going to increase the absorption. Okay, so on the surface of the villi there are presence of the microscopic projections, and they are called as the microvilli only. So these modification, the presence of the villi, microvilli, what is the use of what is the advantage of having the villi and the microvilli on the wall of on the mucosal layer inside the small intestine, because it is going to help inside, it is going to help for the process of the surface absorption, so that surface absorption can be increased. So what is the advantage of the microvilli and villi? It is going to increase the absorption of it is going to increase the surface absorption. Tissue. So here that epithelium tissue, which is made up of it is consisting of the goblet cell, where the goblet cell are going to secrete the mucus. Okay, so you might have remembered in structural organization in animals, in that lesson when we were discussing about the glandular epithelium, we have told that unicellular and the multicellular, some cells will be in the group, some will be in the individual, that is with respect to the glandular epithelium. There we had given the example of the mucous cells, that is the goblet cells, which are present in our intestine, in the where in the mucosal epithelium layer. Mucosal epithelium layer means the mucosal layer which is made up of the epithelium, that is the mesothelium tissue only. So here the goblet cells are going to secrete the mucus. What is the use of this mucus? The mucus is going to help in the lubrication. Lubrication means easy passing. Whatever the food is present inside, whatever the food substance is present inside the small intestine, that should easily pass to the large intestine without getting any struck. Okay, so because for that the mucus which is being secreted from the goblet cell, which is being coated on the wall of the alimentary canal, so that is the use of the secretion which is going to come from the goblet cells. So next it is the mucosa layer. I said the mucosa layer, the mucosa layer, they are going to show some of the modifications. So here in the mucosa layer, when it comes to the intestine, it is going to show the modification to form the finger like projection, that is called as the villi. The same mucosa layer which is present inside the stomach, that will be showing it will be helping in the formation of the glands inside the stomach. The glands which are being formed inside the stomach by the mucosa layer, that is called as the gastric glands. Okay, so here you can observe one more thing, the villi. So in the where you have taken the actual section of the villi, so there are two villi. Okay, in between those two villi you can see a presence of a depression, or they are also called as the crypts. So the crypts which are present in between the bases of the villi of the intestine, so that crypts, the depression in between the two villi, that is said to be as, that is called as the crypts of Lieberkühn. So all these four layers, they are going to show the modifications in one or the other part of the alimentary canal. Okay, so the next topic, it is the digestive glands. The digestive glands, why they are called as the digestive glands? You all know that the alimentary canal along with the associated gland, the digestive glands, together it is considered to be as the digestive system. So the digestive glands, there are three digestive glands. The alimentary canal, which is going to include three glands considered, they are called the salivary glands, liver, and the pancreas. So remember students, these three glands are very important for our biochemical method of digestion. Okay, so in that the first digestive gland, salivary glands. So the salivary glands which are going to secrete the saliva. So how many salivary glands are present? There are totally three pairs of salivary glands are present. What are those? Where are those salivary glands are present? So the three salivary glands, three pairs of the salivary glands are present inside our the buccal cavity or inside the mouth in the different location. If you take the parotid salivary gland, so that parotid salivary gland, it is present near the cheek. The second pair of the salivary gland, that is submaxillary, or it is also called as the submandibular, so that is present near our lower jaw. And the last pair of the salivary glands, that is called as sublingual. So this sublingual gland, salivary gland, it is present below the tongue. So these are the three pairs of the salivary glands which are present in our mouth or the oral cavity or the buccal cavity in different locations. So whatever might be their locations, but they are going to secrete the salivary juice inside our buccal cavity. So this is with respect to the salivary glands. The next digestive gland is the liver. So this liver, it is considered to be as the largest gland inside our body. Because why it is considered to be as the largest gland? Because it is the weight of the liver, it is almost around 1.2 kg to the 1.5 kg. Remember this weight, what I am telling is only with respect to the adult human being. Okay, so where this liver is present? The liver is present inside our abdominal cavity below the diaphragm. So in the, I will show you inside the digestive system diagram. So students, you can observe here, that is the liver, just it is present just below the diaphragm, almost opposite to the stomach. Our stomach is, it will be towards the left side, whereas the right side of the abdominal cavity below the diaphragm, there is presence of the liver. Okay, so here it is said to be as this liver, it is it is having the two lobes. This liver is having the two lobes. Okay, that is, the liver is being divided, or there is a presence of a falciformal ligament which is going to divide this liver into two lobes. It is called as the bilobed structure because of the two lobes. Okay, each lobe, these lobes, they are called as the hepatic lobes only. So these liver lobes, they are consisting of, inside the liver there are presence of the lobules, they are called as the hepatic lobules. So these hepatic lobules are considered to be as a structural and functional unit of the liver. So inside of the hepatic lobules there are presence of the hepatic cells. Remember, these hepatic cells are only going to secrete the bile juice. These hepatic cells, they are being arranged one below the other. That arrangement of the hepatic cells, one below the other, is being considered, it is being called, it is in the form of cords, okay, one below the other in the bunch. It will be arranged. Okay, this I was telling with respect to the hepatic lobules, which are considered to be a structural and functional unit of the liver. So these hepatic lobules are consisting of hepatic cells. So that hepatic cells are going to secrete the bile juice, and those hepatic cells are arranged in the manner of a cord, and these hepatic cells are being covered by a connective tissue. If a hepatic cell is being covered by the connective tissue, then it will be considered as the Glissen's capsule. Okay, so here this bile juice, it is being secreted from the hepatic cells. There will be arising of the duct from the liver, and the duct is called as the hepatic duct. So here this hepatic duct, it will be taking the bile juice from the liver and it will be sending it to the gall bladder. Okay, so this liver, it is having an important function. I said the liver is going to secrete the bile juice. So what is the use of the bile juice? So that bile juice is going to help in the emulsification of fat. What is this emulsification of fat? Emulsification of fat means the fat molecules will be broken down into smaller vessels, because these fat molecules, they are polyglycerides, so they will be broken down into smaller micelles. So that's why that breakdown of the fat into smaller micelles, it is called as the emulsification of fat, which is being done by the bile juice. Other than this, remember, the liver is going to help even in the synthesis of proteins also, and it is going to help in the removal of the toxic substances. So how the liver is going to remove the toxic substance? Please students recall the excretory products and their elimination lesson. I have told that the liver, inside the liver there will be formation of the nitrogenous waste, that is called as ammonia. As it is a toxic, highly toxic substance, that ammonia will be converted in the form of urea through the cycle called as ornithine cycle. So that ornithine cycle is going to take place inside the liver. So this liver, when the ammonia is being converted into the urea, that is a kind of the removal of toxic substances. Okay, so other than emulsification of fat, the liver is going to help in the protein synthesis, as well as it is going to help in the detoxification. So the next digestive gland is the pancreas. Okay, so this pancreas, I've told the pancreas about the pancreas in the structural organization also, and in the chemical coordination and integration chapter also. The pancreas is said to be as the compound gland, or it is called as the mixed gland. Why it is called as mixed or compound gland? Because it is consisting of the two parts, that is called as exocrine and the endocrine, where the pancreas is present. So please, we shall go back to the diagram of the digestive system. So here the duodenum, you all know that the stomach, it is going to, the pyloric part of the stomach is going to form a U-shaped first part of the intestine, that is called as the duodenum. Okay, so here one part of the duodenum is towards the stomach, another part of the duodenum is towards the jejunum. So they are considered to be as the limbs. Two limbs, one is towards the stomach, another one is towards the jejunum. So in between these two limbs there is a presence of a leaf like a flat structure. The shape of the pancreas is compared with the dog's tongue, so that is called as the pancreas. That is the location of the pancreas. In between the two limbs of U-shaped duodenum, there is a presence of a flat shaped duodenum. there is a presence of a leaf in between the two limbs of the duodenum, a flat leaf-like digestive gland, that is the pancreas, is present. So here remember, the pancreas is having two parts, exocrine, endocrine. Exocrine part of the pancreas is consisting of the pancreatic cell, or it is called as the pancreatic acini. So that the pancreatic acini or pancreatic cells are going to secrete the pancreatic juice. The endocrine part of the pancreas, it is consisting it is going to secrete, it is consisting of islet of Langerhans. That islet of Langerhans is going to secrete the hormones. And what are those hormones? That hormones are insulin and glucagon. What is the use of insulin and glucagon? I have told it. The insulin and glucagon plays a very important role in maintaining of the sugar level inside our blood. Whenever the sugar level is going to get increased, so that sugar level is being brought to the normal condition by the hormone called as glucagon. If the sugar level is being less than the normal range, so that the sugar level is being brought to the normal level by the hormone called the insulin and glucagon mainly plays a very important role in the maintaining of the sugar level in the our blood. Okay, so with this with related to the hormones, I have told it in the previous lesson, that is chemical coordination and integration. So mainly we shall concentrate on the digestive gland, how this digestive gland that is you can see here, the digestive gland, that is the liver, pancreas are being they are being combined together, and the liver, that is going to secrete the bile juice, and the pancreas is going to secrete the pancreatic juice. How these juices are being poured into the small intestine, into the duodenum, that we shall study through a topic, that is the duct system of liver, pancreas and gall bladder. Before to that, I want to say the differences between the pancreatic juice and the bile juice. Remember, the bile juice consists of the bile pigments. What are those bile pigments? The bile pigments are bilirubin and biliverdin. Okay, whereas the pancreatic juice doesn't contain any of the pigments like substances, but the bile juice is not consisting of any enzymes, whereas the pancreatic juice is consisting of the enzymes. So this is the major difference with respect to the bile juice and the pancreatic juice. Please concentrate now on the duct system. Duct system of liver, pancreas and gallbladder. The liver is bilobed structure. Each lobe is having the hepatic duct. So these two hepatic ducts are going to form a common hepatic duct. So this common hepatic duct, it is going to carry the bile juice from the liver, because the bile juice is getting secreted in the liver, but it is not getting stored inside the liver. So for the storage of the bile juice from the liver, the bile juice is being sent to the gallbladder. So the gallbladder is going to receive the bile juice with the help of the duct which is going to arise from the gallbladder. So that duct is called as the cystic duct. So this common hepatic duct from the liver and the cystic duct from the gallbladder are going to form a common point called as common bile duct. Why it is called as common bile duct? Because the common hepatic duct and the cystic duct both are going to carry the bile juice. So because of that, it is called as common bile duct. Then from the pancreas, there is arising of the pancreatic duct which is going to carry the pancreatic juice. So this pancreatic duct and the common bile duct alone singularly, they are not going to open inside the duodenum to pour the secretions of the bile juice and the pancreatic juice, because if both the common bile duct and the pancreatic duct open inside the duodenum alone, then there should be two openings for duodenum. So as to avoid the two openings inside the duodenum, the common bile duct and the pancreatic duct are going to form the common duct from the liver and the pancreas, that is called as hepatopancreatic duct. So this hepatopancreatic duct, it is getting opened inside the U-shaped duodenum of the small intestine. The opening of hepatopancreatic duct inside the duodenum of the small intestine is regulated by the sphincter, that is called as the sphincter of Oddi. So here, when the hepatopancreatic duct opens inside the duodenum, they pour the secretions of the liver and the pancreas in order to help for the process of digestion. So this is about the duct systems of liver, pancreas and gallbladder. Thank you, students.